Hey, Mark Harbert from markharbert.com, and in this video, I have got a real treat for you. I've got an amazing interview that I'm going to share with you with the amazing Ben Settle. If you don't know who Ben is, trust me, you're going to want to watch this interview. It is jam-packed with great information. Ben is a copywriting and email marketing expert. I've known Ben for many years now, and I've followed him for many years prior to that till I've actually gotten to know him. And I'll tell you what, it is amazing, his style and how he does things. And really, when it comes to copywriting, if you're trying to make money online, if you're working a network marketing business or a home business of any type, learning some basic copywriting skills, like learning how to communicate in written form, is one of the most crucial skills that you can develop. And in this interview, I really have a great talk with Ben. Now, I'm going to warn you, this interview is over an hour long, but it's jam-packed. Now, we do have a little bit of fun in the interview, and we have some small talk, but I really think that if you listen to what we're saying and what we're talking about, you're going to get a ton of nuggets out of this, and it's really, really going to help you in your business, and it's really going to help you write better emails. It'll help you write better Facebook posts, better Twitter posts, better blog posts, better content in general to get your prospects to take action on what it is that you put out there. All right. So enjoy the interview. Do me a favor. Every time you get a benefit, comment below. And by the way, if you want more content like this, make sure you smash that subscribe button and click the notification bell so that every time I put out a new video here on my channel, you get access to it, all right? So if you like it, also give it a thumbs up, and we're going to put out a lot more content like this. So go ahead, enjoy the interview, and I'll see you afterwards. Who we have here tonight. I got a little bit of a something I have to admit here. I actually have a little bit of a man crush on Ben. I don't know what it is, but there's something about Ben's emails and his style that I absolutely love. And Ben and I had an opportunity to connect a couple years ago at Ray Higdon's event, and we just had a blast sitting there talking. And we probably talked for a couple hours, just sitting there having a beer or two. Ben probably had more than two, but it was a good time. But anyway, my friends, I got the amazing Ben Settle here. What's up, Ben?
Oh, Mark, first of all, I didn't realize, I know we just talked about this Facebook thing, and I just want to thank you for putting me back on Facebook very briefly here tonight, and so I can put my appearance in for the year.
Right. And we're going to talk about that here in a second, because I love Ben actually recently deleted his, what he calls Flakebook account. And, But there's a reason for it, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But anyway, it's awesome to have you here, Ben. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for your time, and it's always great to have you on. One of the things that, just so you guys know, if you don't know who Ben is, I want to tell you just a little bit about him and basically help you to understand who Ben is. This is probably about 10 years ago. I remember first hearing about Ben on a product that you did with Mike Dillard. And you may or may not remember it. It was called, I think it was Copywriters Guild. And you guys did some type of, you did an interview. And I remember that was the first time I had heard of you. And I remember going through all that training. And I remember just some of the stuff that you shared really stuck with me. Because one of the things that Mike Dillard always talked about was if he could go back and learn, if there was one skill that he could, had to learn, or he thought was the most crucial part to his whole business, it was copywriting. It was learning how to speak, learning how to write out the, salesmanship in written form, basically, how to get people to take action, direct response marketing, things like that. And that's where he brought you on, because I know, really, you really have done, some great stuff. And so a little bit real quick, go into it. I know it's kind of cheesy, but tell a little bit of your story, just how you got into what you do. How did you get started in this whole copy thing?
Well, I will give you the very too long, very didn't read story version of it. Okay?
Yeah.
I was in MLM. Holy crap.
I know. I kind of remember that. I remember I've read your emails where you talk about it.
Which is very ironic, because now I'm, I despised it when I was in it. I just suck. This is pre-internet. First of all, understand, this is pre-internet. Okay, this is when you had cassette tapes.
Yeah.
and you're passing them out some stupid cassette tape that says financial freedom on it, right? You're supposed to go to everybody within 3 feet and say,
Right.
keep your options open for ways to make money.
Right.
And I'm just like, that's not me. I sucked at it. I was the worst at it. And somehow I finagled my way into the copywriting world, the direct marketing world, and did freelancing for a few years. And now I just am my own client. And I focus mostly on email, but I teach copywriting email, anything related to it. And nowadays, because I don't have to pass tapes out and all this, I get to be a very content recluse. My dog over here, a long-suffering, getting very old dog. And you were asking me, are you going to do you have any events? I said, no, I don't want to go any. I was supposed to go, I was invited to speak, for example, in Delray Beach at Agora, one of Agora's office, Agora Financial's office. And I just can't, I may do it in Q2, but like, can you come out in Q1? And it's like, I just have my schedule. And, but I got to say, my heart's not broken. I hate traveling, so I don't have to.
Yeah.
And because of the skill, because of copywriting email, I don't really have to do this kind of stuff. If I wanted to, I'd be going everywhere.
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter. So nowadays I went from MLM, which I sucked at, to having to talk to everybody, to now, and working very, very long hours, by the way, to now when I get asked, what do you do? I say, well, I'm like a bum who gets paid.
Yeah.
I wake up, I write an email, I let my dog out, and I'm pretty much done with the day for stuff I have to do. I mean, I'm working all kinds of stuff nowadays because I'm just enjoying it. But
yeah,
that's the basic gist of it.
Yeah, and you've written a couple books too. I mean, how many books have you written?
Well, more than a couple. I mean,
yeah, I mean, a couple that I've seen.
Probably a couple dozen. I mean, some are really short. Some right now I'm writing one about how to make sales and profits from people who troll you, which, I didn't realize how popular of a topic this would be until
that's like the perfect title, man.
Yeah. I'm calling it Copy Troll. That's and the thing is, I did a newsletter, my email players newsletter. I did an issue about this in October, and it's just like the response was crazy. I mean, like, people really want to know how to do this because everybody's getting trolled and attacked. People getting their name dragged through the mud, getting smeared, especially on Flakebook, where you got all these little trolls who basically are the figuratively, maybe literally, I don't know, the 41-year-old virgin living in his mom's basement eating Cheetos and watching porn all day, and he's very angry at everything, and he takes it out on you. He doesn't like you, Mark. He does not like you, so he's going to troll you.
Yeah.
And so there's no reason. And this happened to me a couple months ago, a celebrity rapper, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know how popular he is now, but I guess like 15 years ago he was somebody. Yeah. And he's calling me all these names like white supremacists and Nazi, all this bullshit. And so I turned it into a sale, my white supremacist sale, and I made like, I don't know, $30,000 in sales. It's like, I love this. Please troll me, people. I'll just turn it into a sale. It's okay. So that's what that book's about. But I've done a lot of different books, and I'm starting to really high ticket books. Like, my books are now going to be very expensive. Like, I just launched a book that's $986. Really?
On Amazon?
No, not on Amazon. But I just sold through my own thing. And
you have your own. Okay, got you.
So that's kind of what I'm doing now. In fact, I'm converting all my products that are audio and video to print books only. So there's no online component,
right?
Which is kind of defies conventional internet marketing stuff, which is kind of a good reason to do it.
But you want to know what, man? Like, when I'm reading a book, I actually prefer a book. I want to hold on to something. Like, I don't like the whole electronic Kindle stuff. I'm not into that. I love holding on to a book. I got a couple of yours right over there. I have Cracker Jack Selling Secrets. And
that's a hell of a good book. Let me tell you.
So good.
That author, man,
And he's a cool guy. I mean, a little whacked out, but I heard he's pretty cool.
Oh, that's an understatement.
Yeah. No, but that's awesome. And I think that it's been fun to. I like you're talking about how to make money off the trolls. I saw an email of yours come through the other day, and you said how to make money or how to profit off the Gmail promotions and junk.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's very easy. It's like, I don't fear any of this stuff. It's just anything that's bad, supposedly, can usually be turned into something good very easily. And so that's none of this stuff works.
Well, and I'm with you on that, because I remember a couple years ago when Gmail put in there the promotions folder and the tabs, and the whole marketing world is freaking out. And I just remember sitting back, and I remember Diane Hockman and myself were sitting there chatting, and we're like, this is so fun to watch. Like, everybody's freaking out, you know? And,
it is fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, when you're focused on an audience, you know, just kind of an audience that loves what you do, you don't really worry too much about that. You know, like you've got a rabid audience, you know? I mean, I love opening your emails, reading your emails, and I always tell people, if you want to learn copywriting and learn how to tell stories and be fun, get on Ben Settle's email list and just watch what he does, you know? So, and that's really what it's always about. So
I certainly appreciate that, Mark.
Hey man, it's just, I just love you, man. I got to send people your way. You're a great, so that's one thing you got to do. If you're not on Ben Settle's list, go to bensettle.com, get on his email list, watch what he does, no doubt. So I want to talk about social media. Okay. So you and I were talking a little bit before.
I just got off social media.
I know. I have to talk about it because it's so funny. Like, and because, you know, Ben was on Facebook for probably, you've been on there a while, and
over 10 years. 10 years.
So I recently like got an email of Ben's, and he's like, why I left Facebook. I'm like, no, because I'd always like kind of interacted with Ben on Facebook and tagged him. We always used to have a lot of fun. But so what was, I guess, one of the things you were talking about is how much productivity you've gotten done since you got off Facebook. And I think that's an important lesson for all of us. But what was one of the main reasons that you decided to get off it? Just kind of tired of it, or?
Well, it started, I've been thinking about it for a very long time. I never really used it for much. I mean, it was just a time waster. But back in August, when all this incessant deplatforming was starting to go on with the tech companies, and the privacy leaks and all that, to me, that's unacceptable. And I don't think it's going to get better. And Twitter, I got off Twitter too, because I mean, the CEO even said, "Oh, we're going to start judging you based off stuff you say off platform." It's like, well, I'm screwed, man. If these guys heard my podcast, I'm screwed anyway. It really doesn't matter. So I might as well just get. And here's another thought. And so you've heard that social science. Now, first of all, I think most social sciences are just, you know, to be taken with a grain of chili pepper. Okay. But there's one that has always proven true, and that is you are the sum total, like the people you spend the most time with.
Sure.
Like, I really believe that's true, actually.
I mean, do too.
You know, just because you're around them. Yeah. I mean, you know, well, I know everybody's got different, you know, Facebook followers and all that, but I didn't even have that many. So I can only imagine people that have a lot. You are literally surrounding yourself with the lowest common denominator people as a whole. I'm not saying there aren't good people. There's Mark, you're good. You're not who I'm talking about.
You better, man.
Maybe Ray Higdon. No, he's a very low class guy. I didn't want to do
right.
But the thing is there's so much of it there.
Yeah.
And you can't. And I noticed that you can't help but be influenced by this stuff. And I'm a big fan of curating my content, like what I read every day. I curate who I talk to. I curate who I sell to.
Yeah.
You know, I just did an email about this the other day. I thought was going to get me just completely on blast. I really did. I mean, because this was pushing even for me. Where I'm like, why I'm such a prick about blacklisting people if they leave my print newsletter, I don't let them back.
Yeah.
And some people get very angry about this, right? I was amazed how many people were like, "Oh God, I'm glad somebody else is doing the same thing, and can I share this in my group?" And I'm like, "Really?" Yeah. You know, but I think everyone understands this at a level. You know it somewhere at a level. You know that this is going on. Yeah. And so that was enough. And I think, you know, and I just noticed this. I'm literally wasting time on there. Yeah. And nothing. And so since I've got off there, it's only been a little over a month. I mean, I've written 2 books. I've done a launch. I wrote a huge campaign for another affiliate offer.
Yeah.
I'm doing more reading now. So instead of spending time listening to people, friends and family and all that, nattering on about politics and all the stuff they think they know about.
Yeah.
You know, I had a family member who's a nurse. She posted this meme of Kermit the Frog drinking tea. And it was like comparing Ebola to the flu virus. Like, and people were arguing about it. I was like, okay, this is literally, I mean, you cannot not get dumber watching this. So you know, that wasn't like the only thing, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff like that I realized was going on. And
Yeah.
so now I've been reading, I spend more time reading autobiographies of great people.
Yeah.
Right now, this computer, because I have to prop it up a little, so this camera,
Yeah.
so it is on the autobiography of Napoleon Bonaparte. I have Alfred Hitchcock's over here. I got Ronald Reagan's biography. I read, there's this writer, Neil Gaiman, he used to do a lot of comic book stuff. And
Yeah.
I got his thing, and Frank Miller, another big, like people who just interest me.
Yeah.
I'd rather spend my time in their minds
Yeah.
and not the minds of a bunch of marketing pros on Facebook.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, some people have, and like you have a lot of your business tied to that.
Yeah.
It's easier for me to do this. I'm an email guy. Facebook could come and go. It would not affect me. In fact, I was joking with you, but it's true.
Yeah.
I'm more popular on Facebook now when I'm off. It's amazing to me. Nobody gave a crap until I got off there. Suddenly, I'm like, now I'm getting invited on podcasts.
Yeah. I know.
But it's true. That's my whole point. So there's a lot of reasons I did it, and I mean, there's a few things I kind of wish I could still, like, it was a good testimonial factory. It really was.
Yeah.
And you could find good fodder for emails, but I don't need it for that. So
yeah.
So that's my very long-winded answer.
And I think, the lesson here is, and I know there's a lot of social media marketers on here, and I think the lesson of this is really to be, if you're going to use social media, which obviously it's powerful, is to be deliberate about it, because it is so easy to get on there, and an hour later you're like, why am I here? I came here for a reason. I can't tell you how many times where I've gone over to Facebook, taken a look, or I meant to go there for a reason to check a message or something, and an hour later I'm like, I forgot why I'm even here.
Well, and there's something else to this too.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a double fold thing. And I hope at least one person on this call, if they quit Facebook after tonight, my job is done. There's another aspect to this.
Yeah.
And that is, you're far more accessible. Now, I have actually, for some reason, Mark, and I don't know why people think the laws of direct response marketing, and especially the law of supply and demand, somehow were like abolished when social media came out. No, the law of supply and demand is better than ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even tell you, my sales have, even in 30 days, my list has grown and all. And I think it's because they realize they can't find me on the way. So joining my list. And so what's rare is valued. If you're on social media, I'm sorry, your attention, your time is not valued. You're just not.
Yeah.
And I hate, I'm going to use this analogy, and it's going to hopefully offend somebody. Okay?
Yeah.
But this isn't literal. I'm being very rhetorical. I'm not being dialectic. Okay?
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows. It is far more valuable to be the classy virgin princess at the top of the mountain than the town harlot at the bottom of the mountain. Okay? There's no value down there.
Right.
But people will, and if you treat your time and attention as valuable, which it is, everyone listening, your time and attention is valuable, which is probably why you should log off here. Stop listening. But it is. And so the more social media and the more contact people have with you, the less. Now I'm going to clarify something though. If you're wise about it, you can still make out like a bandit. But I think of people with really high status.
Yeah.
Very few of them are on Facebook. At least they're not engaging. Now you'll see them on Twitter. You see the presidents on Twitter. Yeah. Kim Kardashian, who can literally send a tweet out and make, I don't know, she gets paid like $2 million a tweet. Okay.
Wow.
For that, I understand being on this.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you can make it work like that, great. But even in those, you don't see them a lot on. You don't see her at least a lot on there. You see Trump on there every 5 minutes. But but that's the whole point. It's just, there's a wise way to use these things, and I don't know if I have the discipline to use them wisely. So I just got off, and I'm better off for it.
Yeah, and it's great, and I think it's a smart thing to really for everybody to take stock and realize how unproductive we can be, on social media. I know for me, there's no doubt about it, and I've got to be very deliberate about it. Like if I want to get something done, I got to block it, and because it can draw you in, and Facebook knows that. I mean, I've read articles on how they exploit the psychology of people to keep people on their platform.
And the dopamine drip they give you. I mean, it's just constant. People are literally addicted to this platform. And you know what? I'm not going to just pick on, I mean, this applies to email too. That's how I do the same thing. I'm like the Facebook of email.
See, guys, we're getting the good. The deeper we go into the rabbit hole, like I'm telling you, you just got to hang here for a little bit. You know, it's going to go deep, you know?
Okay. So I had talked to this, a few years ago, I used to host this mastermind with 3 other guys. It was called Oceans 4.
Mm-hmm.
And we would have, you know, these people come in, and there was this one person, her name was Michelle Spiva. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if anyone listening to this would know who she is or not. She teaches people how to like publish books and all that. But we had this biz op guy who was there. He's like, oh, you know, we really despise our customers. Because they just go from one thing to the next. I call it the guru casino, right? They just go from one shiny thing to the next, one bright light to the next. Yeah. And you know what it is. They get a dopamine. And she was explaining, she apparently understood, like, I don't know if she's been formally educated in this or she just knows stuff. But she says, well, the problem is they are addicted to the dopamine drip of new experiences and getting new products. Wow. And what key is to give them a dopamine drip where they're just, you're the only one, and you give it a positive experience. It's almost like a positive addiction. Right. Think of like a runner's high versus like a heroin addict, right? Which one's healthy and one's not. And so if you can do that, great. Yeah. But you know, Facebook, even with groups, I like, if you have I've had some Facebook groups, Mark. I think you were in 1 or 2 of them. I don't know. I had one that was really
anyone you had, I was in.
Okay.
Well, I was kind of a lurker though, because I just had to lurk, you know.
Well, El Bembo's Lair was really,
that was pretty good.
That was a very weird experience. I deliberately constructed my own little world. Like I used experience from like years of playing Dungeons and Dragons, the world built, basically.
Yeah.
I really did. It was very deliberate. And I created like this soap opera atmosphere in there. I had like little soap opera things going on. And it was so weird. And people would joke, say, oh, we're in real life, we're in here. And they were posting, there were so many times somebody would post on their main timeline thinking they're in my group. And they'd say all this personal stuff. But the point is that I was trying to do that very deliberately. I wanted to keep them in my world. And so if you can do that, great. But I got to tell you, that takes a life of its own, and I wouldn't recommend it because it got really bizarre and kind of dark in some ways. Like I didn't realize how bad it was getting, but there were people, if somebody, for example, attacked me or like anything, for example, I could not get attacked. I wouldn't get attacked. But let's say somebody went in and started arguing with me about something.
Yeah.
I just found this out at this event I spoke at a couple months ago. This girl, this copywriter, you know, she already has like what is that? Post-traumatic, whatever. She already has this from being in the military, right? And she wasn't even like, we were just having a fun little banter, and she ended up leaving and all that. And people were calling her. She told me, people were calling me and leaving me nasty messages. I'm like, really? Wow. I had no idea. So it can be taken to a very extreme, but that's because of that. You got people addicted to you type of thing. I used to have a rabid list now. That's because of that. And if you know how to show yourself, if you have a system for communicating with people, whether it be email or Facebook or whatever, where you know how to delve into this stuff, it can take a life of its own. And I don't know if this has anything to do with what you asked, but
no, and for you guys that are listening, I mean, if you're listening to what Ben's saying, I mean, this is how you create a rabid audience. I mean, this is why people are addicted to reading Ben's emails. I'm serious. This is why I am. I get nothing other than, you know, Ben's friendship when I say, hey, go to bensettle.com and join his email list. But the reason I tell people to do that is because he's a genius at what he does, and you learn so much just from that. But where the genius is in your emails, I think, is every day is kind of different. Like you'll do something controversial one day. The next day you're telling like an inspirational story. The next day you're, you know, doing, you know, something, who knows? It's just, you know, you're keying off of something in the news and it's always something that kind of rakes you in. And I have to admit this, I have to say this, but I recently was like, you know, I need to save Ben's headlines because I need to go and get inspiration. And so I set up a Zap where it takes all your emails and it puts the subject lines on a spreadsheet. So I'm like, I need to come up with a good idea. So I go in there and I, you know, kind of use yours as a template, as swipe file. It's a Ben Settle swipe file. So
I hope to suck you into my madness. Hopefully.
I know, man. It's crazy, you know? So every time a new email comes in, I have this buzzer on my seat that goes, you know, so it lets me know. I'm just kidding. But
oh, that's too bad. I was hoping you were serious about
yeah,
that.
I know.
That's a great testimonial.
Every email I send, I inflict pain on one of my readers.
My emails are shock therapy. Let's face it.
They really are. And it's funny because I've actually told people before, I'm like, they're like, well, who has Ben? I'm like, just think of Howard. He's the Howard Stern of email marketing.
I'll take that. I'll accept that. I mean, it's good to lift Howard up that high. So he, but
I know, right?
That's good. He needs a little, boost.
Yeah. There you go. Now, it was kind of fun. I put this out on social media because I wanted to see, and we're going to open it up for questions here in just a little bit, guys. So if you got some questions, we do have the Q&A panel open. So you can start posting questions in there that you want to ask Ben. But I'm going to ask him 2 questions here, and we'll talk about it. And then if you guys have questions regarding email, just copywriting in general, how to get people to take action, on whatever, you can certainly ask them. But there's 2 questions that I got on Facebook, to ask you. And one of them was, how does copy vary according to medium? And I think I kind of know the answer to it already, because I know you and I have talked, and I've had you out before, but really anything you teach works with pretty much every medium. I mean, there's really nothing it doesn't,
It's persuasive communication.
Yeah.
There may be some little things that change every now and then, and it really depends on the market mostly. But here's the whole key to the whole game: being able to combine content with promotion and make it so you can't tell what it is until you get to the link.
Right.
And I work as hard as I can at it, and I have for many years. And this is it. See, most people, when they write emails or sales copy or whatever, they go too far one way or too far there. It's too content-y, which is boring.
Yeah.
Too much content will bore people. It really will.
Yeah.
It's weird. I'll use I'll use a buffet example. Buffets, if you think about it, Mark, at a buffet, you get all the food you want. Be as full as you want.
Right.
They're very cheap. But if you go to like $100 a plate restaurant, you get a very small plate with a very small portion.
Yeah.
Why do people pay more for that over what they can get? Because there's some people that get bloated. You kind of feel good leaving. Like there's a lot. So it's not an exact analogy, but the point is, if you can mix the two together, I would say, and I'm a student of what I'm about to say. I'm still on a learning curve with this, but learn the difference between rhetoric and dialectic. Yeah. And learn how to kind of play both of them. Yeah. And suddenly everything becomes better because you're appealing. Because some people they don't respond to anything but hard conversation and deep thoughts and logic. Most people can't do that, and they just respond to rhetoric. That's why presidential elections are just pure rhetoric. Right. And but if you can mix these two things together, mix the content with the promotion together, and so seamlessly that they don't know what's going on until they see a link and like, damn it.
Because it leads them right into it.
It does, and they don't get mad at you. They actually like it. Like you're doing them a favor. They want you to, like, people want this. If they have a problem, you can solve. Like, okay, so you have like some video products, if I remember correctly, right? Yep. I hope you title one of them, if I remember.
Yeah.
If I can say it to myself.
So the truth is, I do owe Ben a lot of royalties, and I've agreed to buy him a beer next time I see him. But the reality of it is, my best-selling course ever, Ben named it the No Fear Video Marketing System. So,
well, I mean, but I learned. But guess how I titled it? I asked you what?
You asked me a very simple question. What's the biggest pain people have when it comes to doing video? They're fearful. Yeah. And you just right like that. You gave me the name, and I was like, I've been sweating this for 2 weeks.
Because it's not about the problem is you got to get out of your head and into your market's head, right? Yeah. It was the same with 3-minute workday, or 3-minute. What was it?
3-minute expert.
3-minute expert. I'm thinking of my product, 10-minute workday, whatever. 3-minute expert, right? Like, I need help with this, Ben. I'm like, well, what does it do? Yeah. Well, it helps them like become an expert. Well, how many minutes a day? Well, it's like 3 minutes a day. Well, there you go. Like, I didn't do anything. All I did was ask questions. So, but I don't even know where I'm going with this, except for the fact that you learn to mix content with promotion, and people don't mind it. Put it this way: people are going to buy something. they're going to spend that money on something. Most likely it'll be something frivolous and bad from your competitor. You owe it to your market so that they buy from you. You know what I did, Mark? Something very sneaky. I did something very deliberate and very sneaky this year, and I swore I was never going to tell anybody about this, but I am going to tell you. Now, believe me, I haven't even told my paid member, but I'm just in this mood to talk about this because I got to tell somebody. It's like one of those things that like just sits in my mind. I'm like, I suck at keeping secrets. Like, never tell me secrets. Every year people do a Black Friday sale, right? Like it's just like, and this year it was like really trendy not to, apparently. But everybody's doing a Black Friday sale.
I didn't do one because my email inbox was so overloaded, man. I mean, I couldn't handle it. I scrolled my email and it was like Black Friday, Black Friday, Black Friday. I'm like, oh my gosh, man.
Well, you know, if it's like that, it's almost like you should do something like Pink Friday or something as a subject line, and it's going to get. Right. But my point is, everybody's doing, and Christmas is coming up, right? And everyone's doing their sales. So me, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to circumvent all these sales. I'm going to I'm going to sell as much stuff to my list before then, so they have no money left over to buy from these Black Fridays. And I did that in September and October. They were like the biggest months of the year for me. And I did that very deliberately. And I don't know if this has to do with anything either, but
no. Here's the genius in that. And I want to point this out because this is very important. And we're going to talk here. My next question is going to be asking specifically about copywriting. And so hang on tight. But here's where the genius in that is. Okay. And this is one thing that I know that I've always tried to apply in my business is when you see everybody zigging, you zag. And that is like what I see with the genius in that is because you anticipated that's going to happen. And I knew that's what was going to happen too. I just didn't catch on, sooner before, when you did. But point is, you know that's coming. So your thing is, let's see how we can be different and stand out from the crowd. And that's essentially the simplistic version of it.
No, that's exactly it. And I'll tell you who the wise old wizard of this was, the late Earl Nightingale, who he goes, if you're not, just look around what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Do the opposite, and you'll never make a mistake as long as you live. So I think that's great advice. And, but let's go back to the Gmail thing, like the Gmail folder, the promotions folder. Yeah. Right now, it's all the rage that, we need to get our sender score up and all that. Like, I don't even care about any of that stuff. I really don't. I don't even track my emails. I just know the sales go up every month.
Yeah.
and how am I, Ben, how do I get out of the Gmail? I'm like, why would you want to get out of the Gmail folder? You have no competition there.
Right.
If people are looking for you, because if you have a system of doing email like I teach, you're the only one they want to read. They're going to look for you in there. And guess what? There's, a sextortion email because someone stole your Yahoo password from 2002, and now they say they caught you watching a video.
Right. Yeah, I've got
your passwords in the. There's that, and then there's some idiot trying to cold email you, whatever, and then there's you with an actual something to say. It's like you have less Think about your inbox on Black Friday.
Yeah.
On Black Friday, I would have preferred to be in the promotions folder if everyone else is seeing it in their main one.
Yeah.
Stick out. So anyway, that's just a little something to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the biggest thing. So, all right. So I want to get into some copy here because I know this is why a lot of people, they know you as the copy guy, the email guy. So I want to talk a little nuts and bolts here. I want to talk a little bit, number one, about your strategy because your email strategy really is brilliant. And it really, and I want to get into some specifics here because your emails and the way you do things really capture attention. And that's why people like myself, and I know tons of other people, constantly look to read your emails because it's always something new. You're keeping it fresh. It's not like your typical, hey, last minute, you're going to miss it, thing like that. It's really different. So let me ask you this question, then we can go into that direction. But from a copywriting standpoint, have you ever nailed it down to, if you had to bring it down to like a consistent formula, okay, where it was like, hey, step one, you want to hit the pain. Step two, you want to make the promise, like that. I've always kind of had a basic structure when I write something. I never necessarily always stick to it, but if you had to boil it down to a formula, what would you say it would be?
There is no formula. That's the thing.
Yeah.
There's just not, and everybody's looking for that, but there's
Yeah.
no like paint the numbers thing. Now, I do have a system that if you follow it, and it's, what you do is going to depend so much more on your market than but I do have a system for that. And that's the thing. If you don't have I don't know who the salesperson was, but this is going back to my MLM days, ironically enough. They say, if you don't have a system for selling, you're at the mercy of someone else's system for buying. So you got to have a systematic way of doing these. So there is a systematic way of doing it. But it's not like hit pain point, that. It all starts with the market. So I'll give you an example. Back in that old Facebook group I was telling you about, there was someone who posted a question in there. And he was learning someone else's email system, not mine. Shame on him for that. But he's like, I have this 5-point autoresponder, so 5 emails or something. What should I do? Should the first email be should I tell a story and then agitate them and all this? And he's making it real complicated. I said, you're dead in the water. Like, how do you know they even want it? Like, how do you know agitating was even going to work? Let's look at your market first. Right. And I used an example. At the time, I don't know if you know who Danny Ide is, but he.
I think I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's very much an entrepreneur building guy, and very, very smart guy. And I was selling he has a product he sells every year about how to launch your own online courses, and it's really good. So I'm one of the few things I'm an affiliate for every year. And I said, for example, I'm launching his thing right now. And I'm writing, I don't know how many emails, so 2, 4, 6, probably 13 emails over a 4-day thing. That's how many I have going. I'm not sitting there going, do I agitate in this one? No, I'm looking at my list. I go, okay, so who's in my list? Well, I know I have affiliate marketers on my list. I have copywriters I have freelance copywriters on my list. I have network marketers on my list. I have 5 or 6 different. So I'm creating emails.
Like all these different niches. Yeah.
I'm saying, how can MLM people use this?
Right.
How can affiliate marketer use it? I don't know about that. I don't care if a story, or if by researching them there is something to agitate, I would. If it makes sense, I'll do it. Yeah. But there's no thing. I mean, you have to have a system of doing it, but it starts with the market, and it begins with them. And if you
somebody's asking right now, we have a photography business. Will this be helpful?
Absolutely. If I had photographers on my list, I'd say. I would literally find out. I would have emailed Danny and said, so I have a lot of photographers in my business. How can an online course help them? And guess what? There would be an email about how to help online, how it help, why they should have their own online course, whatever it is. Yeah. And so it is. So that's where it all begins. If you get that part right, the rest of it's very easy. Then it's just a matter of having a system of understanding what your options are as far as how you can write to people. But it starts with that. And that's where I think a lot of people go wrong, is they don't have a system. They don't. Yeah. They're just kind of in there, and they hear bits and pieces from that person and that person. And most people are out there trying to purposely complicate. This is just the world we live in. I think there's probably a lot of money in complicating things, but I think you'll get more people by complicating, but you'll get a smaller group of higher quality people by simplifying things. Yeah. At least those are the kind of people I like to deal with. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of the mindset for it.
What you just said about simplification, here's the interesting part. So I look back, I go back when I first started doing online marketing, and I remember coming across this little product nobody's really heard of called magnetic sponsoring.
Yeah, I heard the ad for that really sucked too.
Yeah, I know. I heard the copywriter that wrote that page was really horrible. And yeah.
Well, he is a horrible human being. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Right.
Not as horrible as the copy, but
Yeah, I know the copy was so bad. And oh, that's right, you wrote it. I forgot. But what's interesting is back then it was these long, skinny sales pages with it's just basically a sales letter. Okay, there wasn't a ton of graphics. There wasn't a ton of all this stuff. I'm seeing that shift going back. I'm looking at Frank Kern's stuff, and a lot of his stuff is a straight sales letter. And I'm looking at it going, wow, I see this shift going back to simplicity. I was watching Mike Dillard. He's got a product he's been out there selling. Straight sales letter, hardly any graphics, and from what I understand, that's converting like crazy, and just kind of hearing some back chatter on it. And I mean,
it's never stopped converting. That's the thing.
I know. And
somebody sells something and they're popular and suddenly, oh, I got to do a video. How do you know that? I mean, go ahead and test it.
yeah,
I can tell you right now, if you do email right, and unless you're, now what I'm about to say does not apply to cold traffic,
yeah,
but who really is trying to convert cold traffic anymore? I mean, it's very hard to do. If they're on your email list, I can tell you my own experience, I can't even get a winner between video and text if you do email right. And I'll tell you what, you're talking about how they're not doing graphics now. This is very funny that they're just figuring this out now. Back in 2011 to 12, I was a partner in a weight loss informational marketing business, very successful.
yeah.
And you know Jim Yagi, right? You know
Yeah,
Jim.
yeah, I remember
Okay.
Jim Yagi. Yep.
So it was me, him, and this other guy partnered in it. And I can tell you right now, our weight loss sales letters had no graphics, no testimonials, no before and after pictures, nothing. It was straight plain text practically.
Yeah.
The emails were just plain text. And Jim's like, Ben, I don't know if you realize this, but we're converting over 40% of our list to some kind of buyer. I didn't do any of that. I don't, because it's not about all, I mean, that stuff's fine. It can help you.
Yeah.
It can help. I'm not saying it can't.
Yeah.
But what's more important is the message to market match. You get that right. You don't need complicated.
That is that. Okay, guys, that was a massive drop right there. Okay, if you guys didn't catch that, it's a message to market match. And if you get your messaging right, that's the most important thing. I've seen things that look amazingly pretty and they convert horribly because the message wasn't clear enough. And that's happened to me. I've had products where I've done a launch on my own and where I was expecting to get, a lot of sales. I was like really surprised. And then I go back and I look and I go, it's really not clear. It's really not clear enough. It doesn't really hit the thing. And it was because the messaging was wrong, you know?
I'm going to, I don't know if I mean, I know people might get triggered by this analogy, I guess, because everybody hates Bill Cosby now, but the old Cosby show had,
which, Ben, you're so good at triggering, and that's why you're good at what you do.
I'm not even convinced he's guilty of anything. I don't know. There's something fishy about that whole thing. I'm not saying he is or isn't, but I've been, anytime the media attacks somebody, I'm just automatically like suspect.
I'm kind of with you on that. But whether he's guilty, I don't know. But
I don't know. I mean, I saw what I saw. I'm like, this doesn't even like whatever. But who cares? I already know I've pissed somebody off. Good. Good.
But we just saw a drop in attendance.
Give me those emotions. It's okay. Go ahead. Give me your emotions. But there was an episode where his daughter, Vanessa, was marrying like an older guy. Like he's like 20 years older than her and stuff. And he owns his own house. I mean, he's got his stuff together, right? But he's a janitor, so like, oh, he's not good enough, or that's what her daughter was thinking, or was assuming. Well, she brings him home, and apparently they're married. They didn't even tell anybody. And Mr. Huxtable, Dr. Huxtable goes up to the guy and says, like, it's not you. He goes, what's your favorite food? And he's like, well, I like a good steak. He goes, okay, let's say I have a steak. I make it perfectly with all the trimmings and all this. And then I hand it to you on a dirty trash can lid. It's not very, it takes away the whole thing. It doesn't matter. That's what a sales letter or video or anything is without a message to market match figured out first. Yeah. It's unappealing. It may even turn people off because you got the wrong message to the wrong person at the wrong time. Very important.
And that same thing applies to the emails. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
So I mean, that whole principle applies across the board. So yeah, and it's incredibly important. But I love what you said about simplicity, guys. We seriously make this way too difficult sometimes. And it's like you said, it seems like there's a lot of money to be made in complicating things, but really it's in the simplistic things. So here's a question, and we got a lot of questions actually. So the more we've talked, the more questions are popping up. But we've got a lot of cool people.
Someone's gonna yell at me about Cosby, I hope. I really do.
The problem is they can't go on Facebook and tag you. How much?
I know. I can get away with all kinds of stuff now. It's great.
Right.
And if they do, I'll just turn into a sale. It's all good.
Hey,
the Cosby sale.
How to turn the trolls into sales.
Absolutely.
So this is actually a really good question. I already know your answer because I've been following you a long time. But in terms of effectiveness and audience engagement, what's your take on people who email twice per week, daily, or twice per day?
Well, I try to mail it as often as I can. So you cannot put it this way. This weekend, starting Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I'm sending 2 emails a day. And that's only because I was lazy writing this. I'm promoting a product that shows you how to be good at negotiation. all kinds of, it's really good. It's for persuasion, copy, or whatever. And so I got 2 emails going out Thursday, 2 emails going out Friday, 2 emails going out Saturday. I would have done 3, but again, I just got lazy.
Yeah.
Sunday, I've got 7 emails going out throughout the day. I would like to get that up, actually. Now, how do you get away with that, Ben? Because as long as you're not boring, you're not in imposition. I'll tell you what, the very first direct marketing thing I pretty much ever learned was when I found Dan Kennedy. It was like 2002. And his whole speech, he's like, you want to be a welcome guest, not an annoying pet. How do you become a welcome guest in someone's house? Well, with email, you just have to be interesting. So, in fact, this is very apt. So, this product I'm selling is an affiliate this weekend. It's a question and answer session between my friend Michael Senov asking questions to the late great Jim Camp, who was like the world's most feared negotiator. Yes, that was what he was called. Put it this way: the FBI literally changed their terrorist negotiation protocols because of him.
Oh,
and
wow.
he's like, and he's required reading at like every prestigious business school, Harvard, whatever, all. And he says you're always safe in a negotiation, and this would apply to anything, copywriting, emails especially. As long as you're in that person's world, you're safe. You can't bore them. But as soon as you get out of their world, and like you were asking about, what do I agitate or pain? You're kind of leaving their world unless you know exactly what it is, the message to market. Now, here's something interesting that Jim Camp taught. And this is very apt for everybody, especially if you struggle with copywriting. His first thing, and this is the best, highest level negotiator you can find, at least when he was alive. He died like 4 years ago, unfortunately, cancer, robbed way too early of life. And he would start every negotiation, what is my mission and purpose? Now, the mission and purpose is not about us. It's got to be about them, and it can't benefit us at all.
Yeah.
What do they want that we can give them? So his example was, now he was a jet fighter pilot in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Right. So he understood combat and all that. And so he obviously had a tie to the Vietnam War. He saw this like terrible thing. And he goes, this is what negotiation people do. And what I'm about to say, it all applies to what we're doing. I'm just using his thing. He said, everybody wants to do this compromise and this win-win, all this stuff. He goes, that's what kept us in Vietnam. Oh, we'll bargain with you. We won't bomb you on Tuesday if you give us 5 people back on Thursday and all this. He goes, but nobody ever sat down with the head of Vietnam and said, what can we do to make your country great again? What can we do to help? Doesn't that change the whole thing?
Yeah.
If we figured that out, maybe we would have actually avoided all that. We don't know because nobody bothered to try. So this is what I'm saying with emails and copy. What is it they want that you can help them have? It has no benefit. Imagine you're not getting paid a dime to help them.
Right.
Go in with that attitude, and you will know. You won't have to wonder what to write about because it's all about them.
Right.
And that's. I hope that came across. But this is a very profound thing that it's a very fundamental thing, but most people miss it.
It comes back to the old saying where you say everybody speaks the same language. What's in it for me? Everybody's asking that question, and so every time you pick up, every time you hop on the computer to write an email or send a message or post something on Facebook, the question in their head is, what's it going to do for me? And
be nice if people did that, because
if we missed that,
Facebook videos are so boring. God, I mean, they're so boring. It's like people just going on lecturing and nattering on about Aunt Martha in the Grove or whatever. It's like, what is it? What? Yeah. Oh, look, I lost my iPhone charger. Oh, who cares?
Yeah.
Why don't they come in and say something interesting? I don't know. Why don't they get in their world? My dad right now, we live in the same town here. For 3 years now, his yard is just full of molehills. He's got like 50 molehills. He's tried everything. Bait, sonic things, whatever. You cannot send him too many emails about moles. Not selling him, but like just talking about the problem.
Yeah.
And then you're going to sell him something if you do if you do that, because it's in his world.
Yep, man. And that's very powerful, guys. So this is a follow-up question to Bill Cosby.
Oh, perfect.
Guilty. What about OJ?
Oh God, he was guilty as sin. But, but you know what? There's a lesson to be learned from that guy.
Yeah.
this is very interesting. This is coming up because this is taking some weird turns. So when I first got into,
you're here. There's no.
Do you think everybody's familiar with Gary Harbert on this call?
Probably not, but you could probably. I am. But,
okay.
Yeah.
Or John Carlton. Well, they're pretty high level copywriters. Gary Harbert died several years ago, but there was this call that John Carlton did with him called the Scuttlebutt tapes. It was the first one. And they're talking about the go-to guy. It's like, who would you call? Let's say something had to be done in some undisclosed location. You don't know what it is, but you have one person that you could count on to call who's going to get up at 3 a.m. and just do whatever it is. Do you have that go-to guy, right? So that was the topic. And Gary started saying, if I had to call someone, and I might call OJ Simpson. That guy is the most competitive man who's ever lived. He's guilty as hell, and he somehow won. Or didn't, and he's still out with girls and everything. I mean, he's doing pretty miserable now. But I'm just saying at the time. Yeah. And so that's why I think you can learn still lessons from these unsavory folk. Yeah. Okay. And there's many to be learned. I mean, in fact, people who survivors are the ones you can learn the most lessons from.
It's true, man. Like I've often said, like, you can even learn from the evilest person in the world. And that, who would probably be in history, we'd probably say Hitler is probably one of the most evil people ever. But there's lessons to be learned looking at what he did, what he said, because there's things that I've seen quotes of his where if you read it and you just understand what he's saying, as evil as the guy was, it's also a sneak peek into how he did what he did. You see what I mean? And to see how he manipulated people to his, thing. I mean, there is power in looking at that. Number one, it educates you, but it's a pretty powerful thing.
Well, I have this. I'm not trying to plug this, but I might as well anyway.
There you go.
I have this book coming out. I'm launching it. It's called Supervillains of Persuasion.
Yeah.
It's the sequel to my Persuasion Secrets of the World's Most Charismatic and Influential Villains book. And this one has way more villains in it.
Yeah.
And I just wrote the third one that's not coming out till August, but that's the one I want to talk about. This goes back to Jim Camp. One of the things and he didn't originate this, but all the old school salespeople did. This goes back, like Lincoln did what I'm about to say on purpose. Oprah Winfrey, I don't know if she did on purpose, but she utilized this principle. Donald Trump does, and George Bush did, Clinton, everybody, anyone who's really very persuasive does this.
Yeah.
And it's this idea of being not okay, right? A little less okay than so for example, Oprah's ratings were highest when she was fat. She's a little bit unokay. I mean, seriously, it's like, she has more ratings from what I understand. And we're talking about unsavory people, right? So I think Lincoln was kind of unsavory. I'm actually, I really do think he was a dictator, but he used, what this guy used to do? He's this long, lanky guy. And he used to sit with his stirrups on his horse too low, so it looked really weird. And he did that on purpose. And I learned this from Jim Camp, by the way. He would do that on purpose so that the troops would feel more at ease with him. And to get to the unsavory, really unsavory guy, the serial killer Ted Bundy would do the same thing. He would put a cast on his arm so that people would feel like whoever his victims would come up to him. It can be used for great evil, but the stuff can be used for great good too.
Wow.
And so I write about that in these villains books, but that's my, like you say, evil people. I mean, you don't want to adopt their ways, but they do.
Of course. Absolutely. And I mean, there's a lot to be revealed in that because, when you talk about persuasion, and that's what we're really talking about here, persuasion can be used for good or it can be used for evil. But the principles ultimately are the same.
Well, it's like a knife, right? Like a scalpel.
Yeah.
Can be used to save somebody's life.
Yeah.
Right? But it can be used to impale somebody through an eyeball too.
Yeah.
It's how it's used. So
right. Exactly.
I hope that was graphic enough. I could get more graphic if you'd like.
I absolutely know you could, and we'll all squirm, and that's that's what makes you so good.
I'll talk about TERP surgery again.
No. Go watch that training in the back office, guys, from 2 years ago. You'll hear about TERP surgery. Yeah. But
we still remember this from 2 years ago. That was just something right there.
Well, it's kind of funny. Ben will send an email, and I'll email him back, and I'll just say TERP, and he'll write me back. So, by the way, don't go to Google and type that in. Just trust me. All right. one of the, this is a great question too. And I want to go through some of these questions. Anytime you need to hop off, Ben, you let me know. I mean,
okay, I'll try to get to the point faster for now on.
Yeah, we've been having fun.
It's already been an hour.
Are you guys enjoying this, by the way? I know, I know we're having a lot of fun here too, but we're trying to keep this light and fun. And a lot of what we're talking about here is there's gems all throughout this. And really it comes down to just really picking up on the gems, because all of this and what we're talking about, especially the things that Ben is pointing out, all apply to your marketing. If you're coming here to get like the perfect copywriting headline, or the thing, you're not necessarily going to get that. It's the principles that I think, are really important. But here's the next question. So this is somebody saying, Michael's saying this. He's saying, I've been on your email list for years, but I don't think I've ever noticed you using a follow-up series. Do you only send live emails, or is your automated follow-up just that good?
I do them fresh. Now, if I have I've had side things going on where I did have them in a sequence, like 100 emails just going out one day for 100 days.
Yeah.
I've done that in the past. So, I'm not against it. But I write them the exact same way. I don't write them any differently than if they were fresh, other than they may be timely events or something I wouldn't put in there. Yeah. But other than that, they're all, like I said, it's all persuasive communications, all the same. There's no trick. In fact, I'm going to say Mark, I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
I don't live too far from I live in Oregon, and and I just said that wrong. If anyone's from the state, you already know I just said it wrong. I'm an Illinois guy by birth. You can take the boy out of Chicago. You can't take the Chicago out of the boy, unfortunately, because I'd like to rotor that out. But there's the best winery in the state by far. And I know the winemaker there, and he's been doing this for many years, and he likes to go over to Europe, and he studies with the old masters there still. And what he says to everything goes, the secret is there are no secrets. Yeah. And that's how it is. And I just say that because there's no difference between writing an autoresponder email or a fresh email if you're doing it the way that if you have a system. If you're just randomly going out, I'm only going to have 5 emails and I'm done, well, you're really going to have to be on your ball for that, because you're going to lose a lot of sales. But so there you go. Yeah,
absolutely. I love that, man. Really, that's kind of the way, I can't say it enough. Just get on Ben's email list, watch what he does.
I can't say it enough either.
I know. Just to go do it. So a lot of good questions.
This is how I get Facebook traffic, by the way.
I know, right? See, I send all my traffic.
So you paid for all this traffic, and I get your paid leads to me for free.
I know, right? It's kind of funny. So we got a lot of questions here, but so here's a question from Maria. She's saying, is it worth hiring a copywriter for our type of business? Visual is important to us. I guess it would be, what business do you have? But what's your recommendations as far as hiring a copywriter? Because I know there's a lot of people have projects where they want to hire a copywriter. Do you have any recommendations on, hiring a copywriter?
Well, if you hire a good one and you have the right offer, and you have your marketing down good, it'll pay for itself, however many times. I would just say, don't cheap out. Don't be a price shopper. And if you just don't have a budget for it, it's just learn. There's not many roadblocks in the way of learning how to write a decent ad. You put it this way, it's the least most important part of the process. There was this guy named Ed Mayer. He was like a direct marketing pioneer. And he had this 40-40-20 formula. 40% is your list, how qualified is your list. 40% is how much they want your offer, and only 20% is the copy. In other words, if you have the right list and the right offer, the copy can be absolute crap, and you'll still make good sales. Yeah. On the other hand, if your list sucks and you just, you have like a bunch of freebie seekers on there, or you have an offer they don't really want, you could hire all the best copywriters in the world, put them on a deserted island, computers for 5 years, and they still won't write an ad that'll convert. Right. So you kind of have to figure that if you have a budget for it, just don't be cheap. And I don't say this because I don't do it for hire, so I'm not saying this because I'm trying to get hired at an expensive price. I'm just saying, don't cheap out on it, because the good ones are worth it.
Yeah, and I've seen that too. Especially when it comes to, a good sales letter that meets the market match, the market to message match. It'll pay for itself 20 times over.
Well, let's take the Mike Dillard magnetic sponsoring sales letter. Let's talk about
Tell
it.
us the story on that. How many of you guys, real quick, are familiar with magnetic sponsoring? Go ahead and just type yes in the comments. I want to see. How many of you guys are familiar with that? Okay, so we actually just got to know. All right.
Okay.
And part of it is because Mike doesn't really sell it anymore. It is on Amazon, Magnetic Sponsoring, the book. But for those of you that don't know, magnetic sponsoring in our space was very, very big for many, many years. That was kind of the go-to that people promoted, and it was a very big affiliate program for a long time. Well, it just so happens that Ben was the guy who wrote the sales letter for that. So let's talk about that.
Well, the lesson here for is hiring. I did that 11 years ago. That was when I wrote it. It was like almost exactly 11 years ago, actually.
Yeah.
And I was much, nowadays, if I was doing, I would have charged a hell of a lot more. But I think I charged him like $8,500 for that sales letter. It made it led to tens of millions, is what I've been told. Tim Irway said it's made, that letter, and
it's
nobody could beat it for like 8 years. And then they retired it for whatever reason. They retired the product, but nobody it made, I don't know how many tens of millions of dollars collectively. So would it have done good for him to cheap out and hire a cheaper one? No. I mean, if I could have charged him $1 million for it, it would have been worth it. So it's all relative is my whole point.
Yeah. And just so you know, like I valued that product so much and the sales copy and everything. You can actually go to archive.org or whatever and pull up the sales copy, the sales page on it. So they got that whole thing archived. So I actually have it saved in my Evernote. So if I ever want to go back there, it's in my Ben Settle swipe file. Ooh. And yeah. Hey, man. No, it's really good because the message was really, really good with it. So, all right. So let's see here. So some great comments too. Email is my weakest link. I'm glad I'm here. Thanks to you both. The email info is interesting and relevant. My first into, Yeah, okay. So people are saying, how can I find you? Go to bensettle.com, join his email list. You'll
If you do that, and by the way, if you do that, when you opt in, you get the first issue of my email players news. Now, it's a print newsletter, but you get the PDF of the first issue. There's 24 ways in there you can start making more sales with email like right away. And people have told me they've made thousands, and in some cases, tens of thousands just with that. And there's also I attached like a bonus report on the back of it that kind of explains a very basic outline of how to create a business where you only write one email a day and you make lots of money. So that's just if you give me your email address. If you don't and you bypass it, well, you can still read the blog, which is okay.
Yeah.
But the email's where it's at.
Yeah, the email.
My biased opinion.
So this is a good question too. And we'll do like 2 or 3 more questions and then we'll let you go, man. But what does Ben recommend for learning how to create good copy? Like some of your favorite books?
The best one I've probably ever read was Breakthrough Advertising by Gene Schwartz, but it's not really for a newer person. I think the best book you could get on this would be Dan Kennedy's Ultimate Sales Letter. It'll teach you a very systematic way, very paint by numbers way of writing. And then from there you can get, it's great. It's very solid. And I can't recommend it enough. It'll do the job for you.
Do you still sell your Cracker Jack selling secrets and email player secrets, or is that
Cracker Jack selling secrets is on Kindle.
Oh yeah.
I have a copywriting course called Copy Slacker. It's like $600. I'm actually, going to be retooling that pretty soon. But I pretty much sell all the products I've always. Yeah.
Definitely, guys, buy some of Ben's stuff. That's for sure.
Oh yes, definitely. Very important.
No, that's good. So this is a good question too. We'll do this one and then one more. Ben, what is your process for doing market research, and what are your best resources for it?
Well, Google's made this very easy for all of us. I will tell you that right now.
Yeah.
So, but here's one of those things you can do. And here's the magic website, reddit.com. Reddit.com, and just find your market and just read what these people talk about. They will give you stories and ideas and problems they have, things that not just Reddit, but any kind of forum. So I'll give an example. I talk about that weight loss business I did with Jim Yagi. my highest converting email was I went to this forum where our market was at. Heavy females, basically. That was our market. And it was a site called, this is not my site, so when I give you the name of it, it's not me saying it. It's called 3fatchicks.com.
Oh, gosh.
That's what it's called. It's like one of the most popular, it was at the time. This is 2011. So
yeah.
And I just went in there and I used their you can sort the forum threads by the number of views. So I sorted it so I could see the most viewed ones. Those are the popular ones, right?
Yeah.
And one of the ones I saw was, this person was talking about being humiliated because she was trying to lose weight. And her so-called friends were purposely tagging her heavy Facebook pictures just to bring her down, to sabotage her.
Wow.
That was an email. That became an email. And I mean, that was the highest selling email I did. And, what weight loss ad have you ever seen that touches on that? No, they don't. Because they don't go any farther than, 3 ways to lose weight, blah, blah, blah. No, you got to get into the deep stuff. Get in deep. And you can find that in forums and on Reddit, social, like Facebook groups, if you find the right one. Because people think anywhere where people think it's anonymous, right?
Yeah.
They'll say things that they wouldn't even tell their best friend.
Yeah.
In the real world. So you get a lot of stuff.
It's a huge resource.
Do you know Eric McMillan? He kind of dropped out of your industry.
I've heard that name. Yeah.
So him and I, we kind of partnered for a little bit in the prostate niche. And we wanted to back end sell something. And we found out, some of these people have like erectile dysfunction problems, right?
First off, you said the prostate niche and then
back end.
Back end. All right, this is really going off the rails.
Well, so he goes on ClickBank and he finds the highest converting offer for people who have erectile dysfunction. Like it's an ebook or something. I don't know. There's this 20-minute video that was selling it. I didn't even watch the video. Never read the book. But we sold it and he said, oh yeah, man, this is like, we're getting these really high conversions. Now, mind you, I don't know anything about that market. I promise you, I know nothing about that market. But I was able to go do 10 minutes of research, read some stories about people who have that problem, write an email about it, and then very honestly and transparently say, look, I've just heard this is a good product. This is like the number one ranked thing on ClickBook, obviously, or ClickBank.
Yeah.
I literally said in an email, I've never read this book. I didn't even look at the video. I've just heard good things about it. Buy it at your own risk. I just know it's $10, and a lot of people say good things about it. Here's the link. Got all kinds of sales. And there's a lesson here, and that is the lesson of transparency and honesty. In all of your marketing. And here's an interesting thing, Mark.
Yeah.
So I recently had my copy reviewed by an internet marketing lawyer who specializes, because I don't want to get nailed by some like FTC thing, whatever. And there were, I learned a lot. Yeah. But here's the interesting thing, and I knew this talking to Jim Yagi because he's a Google AdWords guy.
Yeah.
It's funny that as much as we all complain about the laws and the rules, Google's rules and Facebook's rules, do you know that if you just follow their rules, it feels like you're watering stuff down, but you're actually making everything more believable, and it'll actually raise your response rates. For example, the lawyer said, Ben, this bullet you have here, it wasn't like a big thing. It wasn't like a big income point. Because, you just change it. You might want to change it so there's condition. Don't say you will find X and Y, Z happen. So you might find X, Y, Z happen. Small little word.
Yeah.
Big results. In fact, let's talk about a copywriter everybody should know. His name is Gary Bencivenga. He was known as he was the best of the best. Even today, he's been retired for like 15 years. Universally considered the world's greatest living copywriter. And I remember him telling a story when he was a copy chief in this ad agency once. He had his business partner. They were selling something about silver. It was back in the 70s. Silver. Oh, yeah. And they had a headline, why the price of silver may rise steeply. And Gary says, I don't like this word may.
Yeah.
It's like, let's be forthright. Let's try will. So they did it. They tested it.
Yeah.
One word change, Mark, one word, may or will. And may rise steeply won by like 200%.
Really?
So more compliant, more believable, more realistic. Wow. Think about that when you're writing copy, because it makes a huge difference.
That's incredible, because I hear that. Like I'm being in marketing, I'm a marketing geek. So I love watching commercials. You probably do too. I mean, we're all kind of like that. But the reality of it is, every time you see like these these commercials, it may do this. It may even help you lose weight. It may this. I hear that all the time. So
it's more believable because can they really say it will? John Caples, who was like the founding father of modern direct marketing, he found this out too, in the 50s or 40s or whatever. He's like, he had this book he had to sell for cars, how to fix cars. And the headline was how to fix any car. It was being sold to mechanics. Yeah. And like, it wasn't getting very good sales. And he went and talked to his market, i.e. he went and actually talked to the market, find out what is the problem. And they're like, well, it's not believable. Like any car, we have some weird foreign cars out there. So he changed it to almost any car and sales just went through the roof. So,
well, it makes sense because here people are skeptical by nature. So if you're going to make a very blanket statement, like a guarantee, that can be kind of construed as, yeah, right. And it kind of takes, just my thinking would be, it would kind of take up the skeptical factor. So putting in may in there, I guess, kind of softens that a little bit.
And it's just more, it's true. It's more believable. So
more believable.
Put it this way. This is a Gene Schwartz's. One fully believed claim is worth more than like 100 half-believed claims. Because belief is people talk about what emotions do I get and all this, and fear, and some people say the 7 deadly sins. You can appeal to all the emotions, but the most important is belief, which is an emotion, from what I understand. And that's the one that's really what matters. People already want what you have; they just don't believe it. So how can you make it believable?
So one of the, I think a couple main points that I think I want everybody to take out of this today. I love that belief. And you said something earlier, just being truthful and honest in your marketing. And that is why that brings longevity. Honestly, that's probably why you've been around so long. It's why I've been in this space a while. I've been in this space for 10 years now, and I've been able to stick around because I love, to me, being open, honest, transparent is what people want. And not only it's not only what people want, it's what I am and what you are and the more honest and open you are, people will believe you, they'll stick around, and that's so important. And I think for too long when it comes to copywriting, we've always gotten into and I've read your emails too regarding NLP and stuff, and I love how you love to twist that, it's so funny. But people get I got to know NLP and I got to get into this, stuff like that. And it's like, I even heard Ray Higdon one time, he got on he was on a webinar, and I just remember him, he went off. He's like, people get so into this NLP BS. He goes, just, give value, give people what they want, and speak directly to them. And you're going to find you're going to get way more sales in the end anyway. So.
And this dovetails right in with the Jim Camp stuff I was telling you. That was his whole thing. Yeah. It's very transparent. He's not trying to get you. He goes, here's the mission and purpose. Yeah. What can we do to move this forward to get you what you want? And of course, he wants to know, he wants to get what he wants. Yeah. But that's how you get what you want, by helping them get what they want. And you don't do that by like tricking people.
Right.
And you're right. And what he would say is he was very much a principles versus tactics guy. He said tactics don't get you invited back. They don't get you invited back to the table. But principles, that they do. So.
Yep, absolutely. Well, dude, that's all. I think we actually got through all the questions. But did you guys get value with Ben tonight? Was that awesome or what? I know for me, I'm going to go back and watch this because there was a ton of nuggets dropped in there. But let me know if you guys got some value there. But Ben, I truly appreciate it. And I've definitely, over the years, I've always valued what you do. And I'll tell you this, and I told you I started a swipe file with your email headlines so I can get inspiration. I have to tell you this. I didn't tell you this, but when I started the spreadsheet, I actually had you and a whole bunch of other people, other gurus. I'm not calling you a guru. Ben is not a guru. Ben is
no, because to be a guru means you have to be selfless, like by the strict definition. And I'm very egotistical. It's just not going to happen. I'll never be, even if I wanted to be one, I just don't qualify. So
yeah, right. There you go. But I had this spreadsheet, and it was adding in all these subject lines. So I got to about 150 on this spreadsheet, and I started going through them, and they all sucked except yours.
And
They
I'd
suck.
like to say I'm surprised by that, but yeah. It's like,
I'm just being real here. I'm not kissing your butt. I'm just being honest.
well, it's okay if you do. Don't worry. I washed it good today. Don't worry about that.
The point is, like, they were just really bad. It was like, the email subject lines were not interesting, and I just deleted them off. I said, okay, this is why I, just need to have one. But there's just a level of entertainment there, and thanks for what you do, man. Like, for me, it's a great thing to be able to, go in there and actually, tap into someone who, has a pulse and a pulse on the market, pulse on what it really takes to be successful with email. Because, guys, here's the reality. And Ben and I talked about this before we even hopped on. But if you are doing only social media stuff, okay, if you're only on Facebook and you're only building, I love messenger marketing. I think you guys know that. But here's the reality. You don't own any of that. Okay? If Facebook went down tomorrow, everything you have on Facebook would be gone with it. With an email list, you own it. So when you're doing your marketing, you want to ask yourself, how can I figure out how to start building an email list? Because I'll tell you, there's a reason Ben's here. There's a reason that Ben has had the longevity that he's had. There's a reason I've had the longevity. I've got an email list, and I stay in contact with that list regularly. So, Ben, I love you, brother. Thanks so much for coming on. And
thank you.
Thanks for your time, man. We'll have to have you out again soon.
Anytime you want. Thank you.
All right, man. Maybe we'll sell one of your products next time.
Hopefully. Yeah. Let's get this.
All right, guys. Have a great one. Appreciate you, Ben. Thanks, man.
Thank you.